ladies, what is up? Happy Tuesday. Tonight we're going to talk about strength training for us ladies, for us women. And this is such a key point. It's kind of, I was asked by someone the other day, another lady who does skills coaching, Roxy, she asked me, she's like, why do you just choose women? Why do you focus on that? And I told her that it's because women's fitness needs are different. And I would have had to create a separate program for men than for women, and just to fit all the needs. And so it was easier for me to choose and focus in on the ladies. So I'm super stoked about that. So we're going to talk a little bit about why I needed to create a different program for the ladies and what things are different about what we are doing for training, women are doing for training, versus and what we need to do for training. So first off, we're going to just be talking a little bit about what is strength training? What does it actually mean? Sometimes those words are a little intimidating, and they don't need to be. Strength training is just basically, so first we're going to talk about what strength training is, and then we're going to talk about some of the benefits of it, and then we're going to pop into why we need to be different, why we need to train different, what things we need to add, some specific aspects, and talk about how that relates to what you do. So if you're on here live, I'd love to know that you popped on. And if you are catching the replay, I'd love to know that you stopped by. Say hi. All right, so what is strength training? Strength training is basically the added load or resistance to a muscle or group of muscles within a movement pattern to get stronger in that movement pattern or increase your endurance within it. So usually strength training is more focused on your strength, how much power you have that's outputted. And it can be as little as doing a bicep curl or as much as doing a full overhead pull to clean over your head, to snatch. And so as you're doing this, you can be anywhere within that spectrum. And so as we start at the beginning, people that are just starting to strength train, that are just starting to get into it because they know they need to, they don't need to start at the same level that somebody who's been doing a lot of lifts, who's been doing a lot of weight, right? It's like somebody who doesn't ride as many miles on their mountain bike, who usually goes out for like a 7-mile ride, and then all of a sudden they're like, I think it'd be a good idea if I just went for a 35-mile ride today. I think that sounds like a good idea. I might as well just double my elevation at least in that. And so it doesn't make sense to have programs that are just from A to B. Everybody starts at the same point, everybody ends at the same point. Because I don't know if you looked around, but we're all a little different. And so one of the biggest things to think about with strength training is that strength training can be as small as just doing a core workout, 15 minutes or so, and as big as doing an hour-long resistance training, like a lot of heavy movements. Looking for your 1 rep max. And so know that if you're doing all these components, you are strength training. Also, it's like whenever we think about, am I an athlete? Girl, if you're out there riding your mountain bike, you're an athlete. Same thing. If you're out there riding your mountain bike, you're a mountain biker. If you're doing workouts to help with your body, adding load to it, you're doing strength training. You're doing workouts. And so give yourself that, all right? Give it a little bit. Anybody here do strength training right now? Who does workouts right now? Just like to see if you currently work out. Who wants to start working out? Or who feels like they need more direction in their workouts? Just put in the comments below. I'd love to see. As anything, whenever we're here in a safe place. And so you can say if you want to work out, if you want to do more of the strength training, if you are already doing it, or if you don't know what to do within it, it's like, what aspects are you needing through that? Strength training is so freaking good for us, y'all. Even the smaller core workouts, those are probably one of the best things for you. It's something that gets missed in a lot of the bigger heavy lifting load workouts, is that those smaller core muscles, the smaller shoulder muscles, all those guys. So why is it good for us? Y'all, it helps with our bone density. Usually kind of 30 is one of those ages that once you pass 30, I call you on your escalator. That if you're not working on strength, then you're kind of losing it. And as we get older, then the escalator quickens. It speeds up. And so you have to work harder as you get older to keep your strength and to gain strength. And so it's super important for that. Also, as you look at the strength, as you look at the load that you're putting on your body, you need to load it for your bones. You need to load it for your connective tissue. We need those guys to stay strong. We lose some hormones whenever we get into menopause. We need to stay strong through all of these guys. And so also what happens within it is we crash in mountain biking. It happens. Shit happens. It's not something I go out and look for, but it happens. If you are stronger, then the crashes won't be as hard. You won't get injured as much. Also, if you are stronger, your recovery rate will be better. You will recover quicker, or you'll have limited barriers. You'll have less barriers to getting back to feeling good. You know, that's huge. And I don't know about you, but I hate taking time off. Especially mountain biking, my release. I don't like it. It's not something I want to do on my to-do list. Also looking at it is that it helps with our mental. As you look at strength training, you can help reduce anxiety. It helps you with mind-body control. It helps you become more aware of what's happening in your body. And that helps us become more present. Also, one last thing is that it increases your insulin sensitivity. And so the insulin that's in your body, that's in your blood, now does more. It helps with the blood sugar even more without having to put more insulin out there. And so that's super, super handy. So as we look at women, how are we different? Well, one is that we have a vagina and we have a cycle. Or we go through menopause and are postmenopausal. And so as we look at this, you can train around your cycles a little bit. Some people, they have their best week as being their period week. That's whenever we have hormones that are most like a guy, most like a male. And so that's usually, or as research states, that we need to push more into our heavier resistance training because we can have more gains there. Now, I have endometriosis. I was diagnosed with it in October, and my period weeks, or my AKA shark weeks, are not the time that I'm gonna go push more load. And so, even though research states that I should be able to, my body says no because of other factors. And so, not everything in research is always applicable to you. Just throwing that out there. But as you go through period week, shark week, your hormones are more applicable to lifting heavier. So usually, the week after my period is whenever I try to load up a little bit more. Or you do it in a periodization that you slowly build through a full month, and then you take a little bit of a rest week. And that's how my Ride Life team calendar, the Climb Crushers, is kind of made. It has a little bit of a rest week, and it has 3 building weeks that come into it, that you're adding a little bit more and some more heavy intensity. So there's some more sprints that are later on in the calendar that push you a little bit more, and then you have a rest week. One thing that's super important for us ladies is that we recover enough. As we look at pushing the strength, as we look at pushing to get stronger throughout this, we're going to do more high intensity interval loads. We're going to do more heavier loads. Now, heavier loads for some are not heavier loads for others. Still going in with that same thing. Some people doing a double regular squat, air squat, that's your heavy load. All right? Other times, it's going into more of a single leg squat or a Bulgarian squat. For others, that's increasing your load. And so we're just moving you to more one-sided aspects. As we also look at women, for those more increasing the load, we need to recover. It's really important. So as you increase your stress during your workouts, you need recovery within that. And that includes your time on the bike. Okay? And so you won't get good gains in strength training unless you take adequate rest, adequate recovery. You're doing enough water intake. You're giving yourself the electrolytes. You're eating enough protein. Y'all, do you know that it's best for us to eat protein within 30 minutes after we work out? I had a nutritionist or dietitian in the team to talk, and shout out to Dina Griffin, the nutrition mechanic, and she was talking about how important it is to eat within 30 minutes of your workout, because that's when we need that intake the most. For guys, it doesn't matter as much. So I try to take something that gives me some protein directly after either my ride or my workout. Did y'all know that? Isn't that crazy? So doing those things that help you recover are pretty key for it. The other thing that happens within increasing load is that we need to look at how we're increasing the load. Are we just adding more weights, or are we doing more dynamic activities, more dynamic strengthening? And so as I just talked about, doing the squats is great. I love for you to do more single leg activities. You know why? I don't know about you, but I don't hop up the stairs. I don't hop around everywhere using both my legs at the same time. And I don't know about you, but if I have a stronger leg, you know damn well I'm probably going to shift over towards it. And so as you're doing some of these things, if you shift over towards it, then you're not strengthening your other leg quite as much. And so one of the easiest ways to make sure you're getting both sides strong enough, this goes for arms as well, is doing more one-sided activities. And so as people gain and go into climb crushers, they move into more one-sided activities. They're using more of that load on one side compared to the other side. This also brings us into one of the main next points, our trunk control. Y'all, ladies, we got some wide hips. We got childbirthing hips here. And so for our legs, for our trunk, our wider hips, our knees, that means that when we are on one side, which is where we are in life a lot of times, that we need more trunk control, front and back, and more glute activation to hold that so we don't put stress on our knees and don't put stress on our back. Did y'all know that there's more ladies, more teenage girls that tear their ACLs than guys? Did y'all know that? You know why? Y'all know why they do it? One of the reasons is that they use their knees to shock absorb more so than their hips. And so there's a box drop test that they looked at this. And as you come and jump off the box, you do more of a knee movement catch versus a hip movement catch. As you look at these girls, these teenagers, it also includes us ladies now too, because we still have wide hips, they didn't go away, is that we need to have more trunk control. We need more core strength to be able to handle that increase in load. So I have my bachelor's in engineering, y'all. Then I got my doctorate of physical therapy. And so as we look at just forces as a whole, your biomechanics, to be able to hold that one leg and stand on it is much more difficult. It increases your load substantially comparatively if I was even this wide. Because then my glute wouldn't have to hold as much. My trunk wouldn't have to stabilize as much to help my glute function. And so for ladies, for us, we need more core specific activities in our workouts. Rotational core specific activities. So either ones that are moving you through a rotation or ones that you're holding against rotation forces on you, like standing on one leg. Also, we need to focus in on our hip hinge. The ability to use our hips more so than our knees. Because we got knees down. I can use my quads, and I use them all day long for my climbing. But we don't use our butt as much. And so we need programming, we need strength training that focuses in and uses our glutes, uses our posterior chain even more with our core in a dynamic way. Single leg deadlifts. Doing even deadlifts regular. Doing things that are offloaded. So a one-sided kettlebell deadlift. All of these things help you with that trunk rotation control, help you with loading up your hips comparatively, so we keep our knees and our low back nice and happy. And that's what we need for strength training for us ladies. Now, we also tend to be more flexible. Just nature of it. You're going to do much better yoga than most people, than most guys, and they're not going to be quite as flexible. Now, there's some ladies that are looking back at me going, screw you, Liz, I've never been flexible my whole life. Well, you're the rarity, not the norm for that. Who feels that they're super flexible? You may feel tight, but you can bend over and almost palm the floors. You look at your elbow and it extends a little bit too far. Those are signs that you're really flexible. And as you have those signs, then you need more strength. So as we look at how our bone structures are put together, we have, just think about like straps, strapping our body together everywhere. And if we are more flexible, instead of just a strap, now we have part of it as a bungee cord. I don't know about you, but I don't strap things onto the roof of my car with bungee cords because they're not as secure. I'm going to use straps because they're more secure. Now, if I think about my body, if I have more bungee cords coming and attaching me together, my body is not as stable. You know, it just isn't. And so if you are more flexible, you are more likely for injury and you need more strength to help you. It is also harder for you to realize what is happening in your body to gain strength and to do the movements correctly. That's why my program is set the way it is. So you actually feel what the hell is happening to your body and what muscles you're actually using. That's why it's key for that. So it makes you utilize these muscles that we want. I don't want you to think that you're doing a glute exercise, but you're only pressing with your quads. You're cheating me. You're cheating yourself. And so making sure that you are supporting the areas that need support. And so as we look at the areas that typically need support even more, our shoulders, our neck, our low back, all of those things need more stability and support. Our upper back, this region, it usually needs more mobility. Our hips, they usually need more mobility because they're a secure joint. I mean, I don't know about you, but a ball and socket joint like this versus a ball and socket joint that has a small socket and a big ball, that's your shoulder, that thing's just going to fall right off unless you have the muscle strength to help you control it. With your hip, that thing is solid. It probably needs more mobility. And so as we look at this, we need to have strength in these other components to then increase your mobility in the other areas that you need to. And those guys need to be meshed together with your strength and recovery program. Looks like there's a couple of ladies on here that are not as flexible. Well, y'all are great because you guys won't get injured near as often. So that's good. You just got to work a little bit more on your stretching, on moving around. It's probably what you don't like to do as well. But you know, it feels good for you. Linda says, absolutely not flexible. There's a yoga class for runners and cyclists. It's great as they teach the poses for us with tight hips and hamstrings. That is awesome, girl. I love that. Donna says you have one patella that doesn't move. She can do one leg exercises like single leg squats. She doesn't think she can. So Donna, that's where in the team, look more into those single leg supported squats. So you'll support yourself on like a chair or something, and then you can load in, do that with a little bit of support. It's kind of like the middle ground as you gain strength, that you're loading yourself appropriately, not like hopping into an exercise that's a little bit too hard where you might get injured doing it. And so making sure that you're loading in with that. So to go over kind of what we've talked about for women specific, it's harder for us to gain muscle. You need to potentially think about your cycle. We have wider hips. We need a stronger core. We need to support our glutes for them to work, and that equals core strength. Also that we need to watch out for our more flexible areas, not load our back, not load our shoulders and our neck too much. Strengthen and support those guys while we open up our hips and open up our upper back. Get those guys moving a little bit more. So, and then also the recovery is super important. All right, y'all, have a fantastic night. I hope this was super helpful for you.